Good morning, our Atlas community and our Asphalt Life contractors. So excited and welcome to another Wednesday webinar. So excited that you guys are on. And if you can hear me, that is awesome. This is Tiara Cersei. I'm the Content and Digital Marketing Manager at Atlas, and so excited because I have not talked to you guys in probably 4 weeks. We adjusted our schedules. We were going every week with our Wednesday weekly webinars during COVID and everyone being quarantined. And now that things are opening up, we're back to once a month, bringing exciting content, top of knowledge, resources, and tools to you that you can use. So excited to chat with you all and excited to be on here this morning with my buddy Bill Combs from No Time for Social. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm great, doing really good. It's beautiful in Atlanta, and I am psyched because we get
Excellent.
to have you on to talk really about some tips and resources that contractors need to be aware of, or mistakes that they have fallen into, pitfalls they may have fallen into already. But today we're talking
Sure.
about the top 10 marketing mistakes that you may be making in 2020. So excited to get into that content.
Yes, me too. Me too. Thanks for having me again. It's been a couple
Yeah,
years.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So our Asphalt Life community, I know there's a couple people, lots of people still getting into the webinar. So if you can hear me, that's awesome. And the primary way that we want to communicate with you today is via chat. So if you are on your computer or either on your iPad or iPhone even, you can chat with us. You'll see a chat bar right there on your iPad, where you can put something in the chat to say good morning, hello, I can hear you loud and clear, glad to be here, all those things we want to hear. So put something in the chat for us and let us know that you can hear us and um, that you are here.
I'll
Hey,
start out.
Justin, good morning. Glad you're on. See lots of you guys putting things in the chat. Desiree, good morning. Hey, Kelly, good morning. Alex, hey, good morning. Awesome. Glad you guys are here. Shout out to everybody who is still making it happen during all these times of unknowns. I know that there's a lot of really crazy things happening in the world, and so glad that you guys are able to jump on. And even as business continues to um, grow and things that we need to be thinking of as business grows, make sure that you're staying on the pulse and staying in contact with Atlas. We have a ton of really cool events coming up, features and all different types of resources that you should be checking out. I'm going to put in the chat the best way to stay in tune is through the Atlas events page. And so we'll put that in there, and that is the chat. I put that in the chat for you all to access. You'll see when you go to the page, we have our No Time for Social webinar that's happening now. We also have another webinar coming up Friday for our new design studio. If you want to figure out how to best reach your clients and give them a virtual representation of what their new roof is going to look like, that's exactly what that design tool is made to do. And so be sure to um, log into that webinar Friday. Learn as much as you can during the time when you can, because when you get busy, or if you're not already busy, it's a time where you want to take in as much as you can so that you can be a really cool resource. So make sure that you maximize that time. Hey, Dave. Tura, good morning. Good morning, Dominic, and good morning, Alex. All right, cool. Well, glad you guys are on. Glad you can hear me. Stay engaged throughout this webinar. Bill is going to have a lot of really great stuff to say. And let me go ahead and formally talk about Bill. So some of the ways you will remember Bill is from Hell Watch. Bill, you actually are one of the founders of Hell Watch. Is that correct?
I am. Yeah, 1995, we founded it in Austin, Texas. My business partner, old business partner, Greg Potter and I. So it's been a long time I've been supporting the industry.
Yeah, for sure. And then you also co-founded NTFS with Sam Pearsons in 2014.
Yes, so we've been running No Time for Social now for 6.5 years. So it's been a great run, and we've supported a lot of roofing clients throughout our tenure, and also support a lot of industry partners throughout the industry. So
Yeah,
it's been really fun.
right. I know that, you all have since 2014 really become the go-to resource when it comes to social media marketing and management. And how do you create your online brand and represent it well via social media, which is something that's really important right now when you
Yeah,
can't see or people are not as comfortable seeing you. Super important. Glad you guys
sure.
are and you guys have continued to grow, which I know we'll talk about a little bit soon, but you guys are
Yeah.
continuing to grow even in that space from social media to doing digital management and online Google
hmm
SEO
Yep.
as well,
In
right?
some case, websites. So we're really sort of spreading our wings a little bit to support other avenues of digital marketing. We obviously specialized and started out running Facebook ads for clients, but we're now into full management and really, for the business owners that don't want to be bothered with it, and they really truly have no time for social or really no time for digital.
Yeah,
That's where they would contact us, and instead of hiring somebody internal and having to manage them and try to deal with that, they
right.
come to us and usually pay a lower fee than it would cost to house that full-time employee, and everybody's happy. So it's been good. Yep.
That's awesome. And the best of all is best known for dad jokes and exceptional dad selfies, which I gotta have
There's
you show us a couple of your best here. I mean that is the best.
So that's the Best of Success show. It's a roofing show, which I've been to for many years. So yeah, I get that because we have a young staff, right? I'm 50 now, soon to turn 51. So I guess I'm sort of a dinosaur. But our team, being digital marketers, they're a lot of them are younger. So
Yeah.
oftentimes I'll fire off some joke that I think is funny, but it ends up going into the dad joke bucket. So I just take it with a grain of salt and run with it.
I love it. You gotta laugh.
I'm a
So
good player.
even if you're the joke's on you, right?
Yes, exactly. I'll take it.
There you go. Cool. All right, so let's
So,
jump into today's agenda.
sure.
As we talk about marketing mistakes that you may not know or that you're making in 2020, we'll start off with the top 10 marketing mistakes that you may not know you're making, which is super important because, the devil's in the details, and I know we'll get into those, how to fix those problems, and then tips on what to do instead. Finally, we'll touch on how to craft a winning message that gets you more leads, more results, and better ROI, which is what we're all here for, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. Excellent.
All right.
Excellent. Well, let's get things kicked off. So, who is this training for? It's for anybody who really struggles with the ROI of their marketing, which is always something that's difficult to sort of tie into sales and the process within your company. It's also for those looking to improve. Everybody's always looking to improve and optimize their existing marketing efforts. And the world of digital marketing and all the different platforms you can advertise on and post to is constantly changing. So there's definitely some tips that we'll provide on those lines. And then anybody who's been impacted by COVID, which it's probably everyone, and you really want to maximize every single dollar that you're spending right now. So we're gonna hop into number one here, and we'll take from there. And I think Tiara, you said you're going to be fielding any questions, so I won't be paying
Yep.
attention to that. But you're welcome if you want to interrupt me and jump in with something. Feel free. So
Yep.
just let me
Absolutely.
know. Excellent. So, what is the number one goal of marketing? Um, before we dive into this, let's talk about what marketing is and is not, which may seem like a really silly question to ask since it's obvious, right? the goal of marketing is to get more customers. And while that's a reasonable expectation or a reasonable outcome for your marketing efforts, no person or digital marketing agency or partnership or anybody that you can connect with can sort of wave that magic wand and make marketing immediately turn into new customers. There are some tactical things you could probably do to get leads and get new customers, but as far as flipping a switch, it does take time. So that's something to be always cognizant of, is that it is a process. Many businesses really struggle with marketing and the ROI because they assume that it all it takes to get more customers to just sort of put a couple Facebook ads up or run a Facebook ad and boost that post, and think that if they spend $1,000 boosting a post, that all of a sudden these great things are going to happen. So you spend more to reach a bigger audience, and then you hope for the best results, which oftentimes with a lot of the roofing companies I talk to, they're sort of in this vicious cycle of spending money on ads and then claiming that ads don't work because there isn't a proper process in place. There's not a proper funnel, and you're not using all the available tools. So that's sort of just to start out with what the goal is. And again, we all know it, but just sort of that expectation. So the number one goal of marketing is to reach customers at the moment that most influences their decision, right? So as a business owner, marketing alone cannot force somebody to just fill out a contact form, force somebody to sign a contract, force somebody to purchase an upgrade, right? If you're selling them a roof, and force them to become a customer. It's important to note that the role of marketing your business is not it's not supposed to be a black hole of expenses. It's actually supposed to influence people and get them to sort of make a buying decision at some point. The influence is an interesting word, right? It means to have an effect on. So you want your marketing to have such an effect on somebody that they decide to make that purchase, or they decide to make the decision that you are going to be servicing them as a customer, which is difficult to do, right? There's thousands and thousands. There's more marketing messages out there than we've ever seen before, right? And the world with COVID is certainly evolving, because we're going to see maybe a transition, maybe even back to some television advertising, because we're about to all start watching sports on TV only. And I think people are craving it. So those sports audiences may go up. So at what point does the marketing actually work, right? At what point does it work for you? And it works when you reach the right person with the right message. So we know this to be true. It's a tried and true tested method over a long period of time. And I'll sort of just segue off a little bit to talk about our digital marketer certified partnership. We're a digital marketer certified partner agency. They happen to be located in Austin, Texas, where we're at. And so we're constantly putting ourselves through top-notch training to make sure that we produce marketing that works, and we're reaching the right people, and we're reaching them with the right message. So you've got to target the right people. That audience targeting is probably the biggest deficiency out there. And I mentioned the boost post on Facebook, right? So you go in, you click boost post, it says reach a radius of 10 miles around. The audience is 500,000 people, 200,000 people, 100,000 people. You hit go and you forget about it, right? 2 weeks later, your $1,000 is spent. Well, it's highly likely that you were not targeting the right people. If you are able to target the right people, you've got to solve that need. You've got to solve that problem. And you have to make a great first impression. So bad imagery, bad video, bad message, bad grammar, all of those things sort of tie into that first impression. And last but not least, you've got to be using the right message. So the wrong message to the right people will not lead to more customers. And as we move through these top 10 mistakes you could be making, think about evaluating your own messaging, your own creatives. If you're running ads right now, feel free to pop in Ads Manager, or even from your page, you just click on Page Transparency. Look at some of these ads and really dig deep and figure out, are these ads, are these marketing messages that we're putting out right now, are they solving a problem, and will they improve our overall growth, long term? So stay on till the end of the webinar. We are going to be giving away our internal framework. So it's going to be a long PDF, but it's what we use internally here to help craft that winning message and to win over customers, to increase leads. It's the exact one that we're using each time we start working with a business to craft their winning message. And we're going to give that framework away. So definitely stick around. So what is marketing mistake number one? You only talk about yourself. Mistake number one is that you only focus on you, which is could be detrimental to your business. Now, one of my favorite comedians of all time is Brian Regan. And if you just write this down, YouTube, Brian Regan Me Monster, and take a look at it, it's 4.5 minutes out of one of his hour specials, and it's called The Me Monster. And that's him saying me, because people have a tendency to want to one up everybody, and it's all about me. So what do the statements have in common, right? All roofing companies sound the same because it's easy to default to what people think works. We are the most trusted. We are the highest rated. We are the most experienced, and we are committed to quality. In that case, the focus is really on you and not the customer, right? Communicating your offer, why customers need it now, and why they should choose your company over a competitor is really, really hard. But what do all these statements have in common? Why are they so ineffective? They're focusing on you. They're not focusing on the customer. Should customers care that you're most experienced or most qualified? Probably, right? Should they care that you're the highest rated? I would say yes, but maybe not in the initial search phase. Customers who land on your website will most likely spend less than 1 minute there. So deciding if you can solve their problem before they care about you as a company is super important. To win over these customers, you need to focus on their needs. And the only way to do that is to really stop talking about yourself. That's super important. Mistake number two. Mistake number two is you're not solving the problem. So, you may identify it, but you're not necessarily solving that customer's problem. So let's move on to the slide, and we'll sort of dig into that a little bit further. 60% of all buying decisions end in no decision. And I would almost say that it's possible that that percentage may be a little bit higher in the roofing and construction world. It's a really, really tough competitive environment, and I think people are a lot of times not informed properly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the average across the board for all industries, and not just roofing contractors, but it's important to note that you could be losing business based on people's perception of your ability to solve their problem. So if you think about the last time you were going to try to make a purchase decision, have you ever felt like not knowledgeable enough to sort of pull the trigger, right? The website is confusing. It's, you're not convinced it's an urgent problem, right? We see that a lot in the storm industry. Somebody may not be home when a hailstorm hits, and they don't think the hail damaged their roof. And we know that it's tough to see damage from the ground. So there's some challenges there. Overwhelmed with option service prices, right? We've all seen the whole, in the storm industry, door knocking, right? 100 people knock a door. I've seen all the funny signs, right? do not knock on my door. So there's all kinds of different issues that are out there that these homeowners are going to run into. And knowing that most of these homeowners are not roofing experts, it's probably safe to assume that they feel the exact same way about finding a roofer. They're uneducated, they're overwhelmed, they're strapped for time. There's all kinds of various challenges that all of these consumers are running into. So, to win a new customer, you've got to make it clear that you're going to solve their problem and you're going to solve it quickly. Marketing mistake number 2, again, is that you're not actually solving the customer's problem. We believe you do, but what is the perception of a customer that lands on your website? Would they believe you did? And how quickly could they come to that conclusion? So again, if you're following along on this, I'm not sure if you've got dual monitors, bring up your website, right? What does that look like? What does that landing page look like? How do you feel about hitting your website as a consumer? And I would say the same about any other marketing you're doing, not only the website, but oftentimes when I'm talking with roofers and we're talking about Facebook ads, I'll say, you know what, take the next half hour after we get off this call and scroll through your Facebook page. You're going to have a handful of ads that show up. Some of those ads will be really good ads. Some of those ads will be really bad ads. Uh, is that ad solving a problem for you, or are they bringing attention to you, something that you might be interested in? So take a look at that option as well. And then obviously, if you're running your own ads, you really need to do a deep dive in on that. But the most important thing here is that first impression, right? They're important everywhere, but especially today when the competition and cost to get a brand new customer is really high. So what is that customer acquisition cost for you and your company? And those are things that, again, a lot of people don't know. Some people may say, yeah, I'm paying X amount per lead, but they're not sure how many leads are closing, or leads come in and they don't go into their CRM properly, or it gets handed off and no one's following up. So the degradation of lead acquisition sometimes is high, and it's unfortunate because those customers are slipping through the cracks. So the only way you're really going to solve the problem is to make it clear that you actually solve the problem. And the best way to put that message, or the best place, I should say, is really at the top of your website. So it's the first thing that customers see when they land on your page. All right, moving on to marketing mistake number 3. You are making assumptions, and we all know what they say about making assumptions. So let's talk about assumptions versus expectations. Sometimes it's really hard for a business owner who has been doing this for a long time to assume that that customers today really want anything other than a new roof, right? You're going to go in and think customer's roof is damaged, that's all they need. But the world has changed, right? We're connected on so many other different levels, right? So the ease of scheduling, callbacks, following up from a meeting, having a professional team, having the process explained to them would be another one. Obviously, a proper installation. Do you have after hours or weekend appointments available? That might be another one that sort of goes into that fast response time. And then job site cleanup. So the expectation of a customer nowadays, and the bar continues to get raised, is increasing as time goes on. There's more competition, there's more expectations, and if you're falling in the bottom third of all of that, you potentially are losing out. And that's definitely it's not only a marketing mistake, but it's also a business mistake. Sorry, quick sip of water. So again, assumptions versus expectations. Customers need a new roof, but they may also have additional expectations. So it's really not what you do, it's how you do it, right? So if you're not surveying your customers after a job's completed, You absolutely need to. We are at No Time for Social. We resell a product called Bird Eye. It's a review and reputation management software, and you'd be amazed how many roofers are not really dialed in on those Google reviews to make sure that they're hitting the top tier of their Google reviews within their service area. And once we implement that system, we begin to see we're reaching out to old customers, we're getting reviews, and it's really beginning to sort of move that needle. What you're really going to find is the customer expectations are often not related to who you are as a company or what you do. It's how you do it, right? It's that full customer experience. For example, all of your competitors can and install roofs, right? So if you have 10 competitors lined up, all of them are going to say, we install a roof. And going back to that initial slide, all of the cool things that they do. Uh, a lot of times with the same materials, maybe not, but not every company has a 25-point follow-up inspection process to ensure the roof is installed correctly. They finish the roof, they sign off, they sorry, I got off my slides there, hit a button. But if you're not putting some of these systems in place and understanding the full customer experience and maximizing that experience, you're really losing out on any potential referrals and any other kind of interaction with that customer, maybe even a future customer, if another situation comes up that they need a roofer. So when you know exactly what the customer wants without making these assumptions, you can improve that marketing message and deliver on those needs. So it's going to help you stand out from your competition. It's also going to allow customers to quickly and identify your company as the best choice, which is really what you want. When you're out there digitally, if they're searching for you, if they're looking you up, if they're hitting your website, they're going to feel confident about making that decision, and it's going to do well for your company over the long term. In order to win, you're going to really need to get that data from your customers, right? You've got to implement these pre and post job surveys. If you're not doing that already, the other place to start would be the reviews, which I just mentioned. We're a Bird Eye reseller. If you don't have enough, check your competition's reviews. That's a good way for you to go in and figure out why did customers utilize your competition? What does that review look like? Why were they satisfied with the job? Or in some cases, why were they not satisfied, right? We know roofing construction projects tend to be at the top of that BBB naughty list. So you can obviously go out and look at what the customer expectations were from those companies, and hopefully you're making the proper changes to your marketing to meet those customer needs over the long term. All right, moving right along. We're going to hit number 4 now. Marketing mistake number 4, you're not asking the right questions. So using data and questions is really going to move you along the road of taking advantage of super important information and being able to ask the right questions. So data is so huge now, right? There's so much data out there. If we look at the platform Facebook, they have more information on people than any other entity. So that data is super important to feed back into your marketing. So couple things here. Marketing mistake number 4 is you're not asking the right questions. So let's dig into that a little bit. Do you always, sometimes, or never ask these questions, right? How did they find you? Why did they call you to schedule the appointment or complete an online form through your website? That information is going to be cool, really cool to have and super critical for you to continue to build that marketing message. What's their preferred method for communication, right? In the world we live in now, and it's interesting. I was just talking with somebody yesterday about them wanting to increase their YouTube presence as a roofer because their kids, that's all they do. They spend time on YouTube all the time. And he's even thinking ahead, going, you know what? In the future, we need to be thinking about the different ways that the customer is going to communicate with us. So, do they want to call? Do they want to text? Or do they want an email? And Tiara, I know we even just talked about this a moment ago about how technology is sort of
Yeah.
driving customers and how they need to be communicating. So if you don't have an online chat on your website, you better get one. If you don't
Yep.
have a way to communicate through Facebook Messenger, you better figure that out. If you're not texting, you better figure that out. It's super important to be communicating with them on their preferred method of communication. And
Right.
again, you could force somebody to call, but the overall experience is sort of to try to meet that customer halfway, meet their needs, and that in the end is going to, maybe go from a 4-star to a 5-star review. So there's definitely some great ways to, again, continue to push for that 5-star review. Asking them why they chose your business, that's super important. How satisfied are they with the project, right? Are they willing to give you a 5-star review? And this sort of goes back to the sales process. I think it was Jim Johnson, who's a good friend of mine, who in one of his trainings was talking about that initial customer interaction, right? You get the deal closed, and sort of that, maybe that initial checklist you're going through saying, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if we meet all of these things here in this checklist that I have, and we are able to meet these to 100% of your satisfaction, can I count on you for a 5-star review? They're prepping the customer ahead of time. So the customer knows, I now know that the customer knows that you're trying to meet these expectations. Your team knows they need to make these expectations. And if everybody comes together and all the expectations are met, boom, now you can request that 5-star review. Wouldn't it be great to get 10 5-star reviews from your next 10 customers because you implement some of these things? I think it would be phenomenal. And then obviously going off of that, would they refer you to a friend? So referrals are really, really big in this industry. So I would say it's super critical to your business, and we're sort of leading up to the out of the 10, this is a super important one, right? It's super critical for you guys to remain competitive and to be asking the right questions, getting the right data, making sure that you're communicating with the customers the way they want to be communicated with.
Yeah.
You want to.
I was
Mhm.
just gonna add, I mean, this is a huge point. This is a whole webinar in itself, right? Just
Right.
one. But, I think the takeaway also to our listeners is that you don't have to know exactly how to do this. That's why you have experts and team members, like a Bill Combs or like your Atlas sales reps that can actually link you in with resources to help make sure that you're doing, you have
Mhm.
what you need there. So,
Yeah.
if this task is one that you say, yeah, data, when I hear people say stuff like, what does my data tell me? This sounds really good hypothetically, but it sounds very far off. Have
Yep.
a
Yep.
conversation with your Bill Combs, or have a conversation with your Atlas sales rep so we can link you in. I know Atlas specifically, going back to our conversation earlier, Bill, we have partners that specialize in this lane specifically to make sure that they're helping explain what your data is saying to you and give you actionable next steps.
I love it.
Stuff like
That's
that
great.
is paramount. And just
Yeah.
know that, you have resources out there if you feel like this is very far off.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good point. And one other thing to add to the referrals, and I've seen this done, and I don't think there's anything wrong with this, is $25 gift card, $50 gift card. One of Jim Johnson's secrets are going to a local restaurant and partnering up with that restaurant. And now would be a great time to do that, right? In fact, we're actually trying this with a couple of our clients now. Go to a local restaurant. Obviously, they need revenue, right? Restaurants, I just read that I think 16,000 restaurants in the US permanently close. And I bet you a lot of those are independents, right? Find an independent restaurant, go to them and say, hey, we are going to run a promotion for referrals, or we're going to run a promotion for completed inspections, right? So, and this sort of ties into hail. I know we're not just hail specific here, but on the referral side, right? If you have a list of 500 people that you've done business with, you could easily shoot an email out saying, hey, refer us to one or two people and we'll give you a $50 gift card to X restaurant. Now you accumulate the purchase of, maybe $500 or $1,000 in gift cards, and you can go to that restaurant and partner with them and say, hey, we really want to help you out. We're going to buy $1,000 worth of gift cards now to hand them out to our customers because they were able to refer people. So just some different creative ways that you can sort of capture a continued relationship with that customer beyond the roof. So,
And not to mention the fact that they refer more.
yes.
You think you
Hmm.
have a referral after the one, they're more
Right.
apt to refer even more family and friends
Yeah.
once they, gotten that one gift card from you that goes so far. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good. Excellent. So we're halfway through, and let's say you're doing all of the things that we've already covered in 1 through 4. But let's say you hit number 5 and you're struggling with, we sort of have a lot of this dialed in, but we're just not at that point where we can continue making improvements. Let's look at a couple of those things. So marketing mistake number 5 is you're not making improvements. 96% of unhappy customers won't complain about you, but they will tell 15 friends. And I hate to say this, but I think that it that unhappy customers with roofing, because it's such a large project and it is so important to the customer, that I think a lot more complain, and we've seen that with a lot of the BBB studies, but they're also telling 15 friends. So there's nothing worse than getting a 1-star review and a whole bunch of people that learn that you're not providing the service that you did in your initial checklist when you met with the customer, right? So you can't fix any of these things if you don't know it's an issue. Um, there'll be the naysayers that say we do everything to make our customers happy, so we don't need a survey. I would say you are not going to lose anything by implementing and creating a customer survey as step 1. you know, don't Marketing mistake number 3 was don't make assumptions. So don't assume that all your customers are satisfied just because they don't complain or voice their concerns. And again, you should sort of have an idea if you implement the 25-step checklist at the end and you're asking for that upfront agreement of the 5-star review, you should have a lot of that dialed in. But if there's some things missing through the cracks, the survey is going to help further with data. So I would say continue to try to, keep the customer in front of you and let them know that you care. And the
Hmm.
customer survey lets them know that you care. So,
Yeah. I was
making this a habit would be super important.
So, Bill, one question
Hmm.
here. Would you recommend, going back to the reviews, do you recommend actually responding to negative reviews when they come in? I know there's a lot of chatter around, do you
Sure.
respond, not respond? Do you have legal recourse if
Yep.
you respond, and what should you say?
Yeah. On the legal side of things, I really can't speak to that. I will tell you from a marketing perspective, it is something that we do encourage, and we do it for our clients. So whether that's a combination of us reaching out to our roofing client and getting the proper text and information to post, or us just knowing what the response needs to be. Sometimes we have sort of what we call bucket responses of, we take your feedback seriously, we want to improve, please send us a direct message so we can call you directly. Now I get it. I've seen the nightmares of, it doesn't matter if I'm going to call, Mr. Jones or Mrs. Jones. They are, I have a term I coined many years ago called never satisfied syndrome, right? It's never satisfied syndrome. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you do. I mean, you could probably not even charge them for the roof and they're going to be, an upset customer. So I fully understand that, but I would say in a general consensus, you would want to reply to negative feedback, and you also want to reply whether it's just a quick thank you or we appreciate it, to every Google review as well, which I can tell you I bet you 96% of all Google reviews are not replied to. So yeah, I do think that's important. Any other questions?
No, good to go.
Excellent. All right.
Oh, Bill, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Just as I said no, one other came in.
Okay.
The best way to do a survey, is it an email after the job, send it via the mail? What is the best practice
Hmm.
for how to get surveys out? And also, I think to tag along with that, can you make some recommendations? I know there's Survey Monkey,
Yep.
there's Google
Yep.
surveys. So, what are your best recommendations for how to?
SurveyMonkey would be one. Any of the review management platforms, I believe, have surveys built in. I believe when we send them through Birdeye. So Birdeye is one that you could use for review, reputation management, and surveys. So, but SurveyMonkey is a great way. You can easily just upload a list of emails, boom, put your survey together, even put in information there about, if you were to refer somebody, we can provide you with that gift card. So there's various things that you could do with these surveys, and you can even track who's completing them and who's not, and sort of, whittle that list down, right? So if you have 50 old customers that you work with and you want to sort of dive in and just start sending out either individual survey requests or just do it as one big bucket. Let's say you get 5 or 6 back, you can take those 5 or 6 off the list and continue until, hopefully you don't get somebody upset, but couldn't hurt every 30 days to shoot a survey out. And then obviously if you implemented that going forward, it would be something that you would want to do right when you're ending the relationship with that customer, meaning you're completing the job, things are done, they're happy, you're shaking their hand, you're asking for the review, and then you let them know, hey, we're going to be sending out a brief survey just of your experience with, our roofing company. We would really, really appreciate it if you would fill out that survey. And I can tell you, just saying that will probably increase your response rate like 50% on surveys, because you're sort of getting that agreement with them and you're getting them to shake their head or say yes. So
Yep, awesome, love it, great.
excellent. All right, moving right along, because I know we're it seems like we're a bit behind on time, but I'll make sure we get through everything.
All good
Mark,
content, really good.
I think we went long on the last one I did too. So,
Yeah.
number 6, you are not visible online, and this is, this hits home for me, obviously, because I run a digital agency that revolves around online. So, I've heard it before, and I have really, really good close friends in the industry that will say only door knocking converts leads, and I believe that door knocking converts leads. I do believe that now we're probably in a situation where I have seen people posting, especially I'm on the D2D Con group, and obviously friends with Sam Taggart from D2D Con and his business as part of the Catalyst group. But they are running into some issues, and some people are just not happy with people knocking on their doors. I've had a couple knock on my door, and unfortunately, I've said, I'm not interested. It's pest control or whatever, not a roof. But that could be a roadblock that we're running into, right? So 62% though of people search roofing related topics before converting. So even if you do knock the door and you're not able to convert, they may, let's say you hand off a business card. What are they going to do? I know what I would do. I'm going to the website. I'm looking at them, right? So some of the free tactics that you can use to sort of move a potential customer through the journey is, are you producing website blogs? Are you running ads linking to those website blogs on Facebook and the neighborhood that you're canvassing? And what that allows you to do is, if they click on the blog and they read it, they now hit your website. If you're running the marketing funnel the way that it needs to be, they're now going to be added to a new Facebook audience. And a week from today or 2 weeks from today, they're going to get another ad in their Facebook feed that says book your appointment or something along those lines, right? So there's hundreds of different tactics to market and remarket. So are you running these Facebook page posts? Are you posting to Facebook groups? I know some groups will not let you post, and they're pretty stringent on sort of the marketing side of things. But a different angle would be, check out this blog on the top 10 mistakes you're making when a hailstorm hits, right? So instead of posting, I'm selling a roof, or I have free inspections, or I have appointments, you simply provide a link, and that link is gated, meaning in order for them to access the blog, they need to enter their name and email. Now all of a sudden you're building a list. Now you've got more data. That list can be uploaded to Facebook as a custom audience. In fact, your whole customer list can be uploaded into Facebook, and Facebook will try to match up those customers so you can remarket to them or market to them. And we do that now with hail areas and even areas that our customers are working in. So
Yeah,
we'll run marketing to them. And then Nextdoor. So Nextdoor is big. I don't know if our marketing guide at the end provides Nextdoor, but we also have a Nextdoor guide, and that may be part of some additional stuff that we send out to you guys. But Nextdoor has really, really been popular, and they just opened up. I don't have any information on this, but I will tell you, if you Google it, you'll probably find it. I believe Nextdoor just opened up advertising to all businesses, so there's definitely an angle there. So
that's
just
what I
keep
was
that in mind.
gonna ask about, Bill.
Mhm.
Is you know, initially Nextdoor was private. You kind of had to go through a homeowner to have that referral, and
Yep.
now it looks like Nextdoor is opening up to more businesses to allow them to advertise there. And it seems like from what I've heard and seen, the price is like really minimal to be able to have advertising.
Yeah, I don't think it's too intrusive at this point. So I would definitely look into that. I know we're looking into it. I don't have a ton of information on it, but I do know that Sam, my business partner, who is responsible for all these funny images in here, uh,
Which
she's
we love.
awesome. And
We
some of
love.
you may have seen Sam speak before. She's done some speaking before. She's phenomenal. But she I believe is running some ads on Nextdoor, maybe for one of our clients in Oklahoma City. So uh, definitely some good options there. Cool. All right. So um, you know the going on from marketing mistake number 6, you're not visible online. I've heard it a million times, right? I've tried online marketing and it just doesn't work, right? We've got to go back to sort of 1 through 5, all of those things, right? Being visible is half of the battle. Are you using the right messaging? Are you focusing on the right audience? Are you making it clear that you solve problems? Are you meeting the expectations? All of those things rolled up, if done right, done consistent, done over time, you're going to be successful with your online marketing and your visibility online. You would think if you did all of these things, right? And this is sort of where the business owner falls into what I would almost call the black hole of marketing, where they're so like focused and then unfocused and focused and unfocused. They think the business owner just thinks, if I just do more, right? If I have more eyes on the brand, if I run 15 Facebook ads in the same area versus one to the same audience, I'm just going to overwhelm them and they're just going to be inundated with this message and they're going to know my name. That visibility is really just half the battle, right? You before you spend any extra money and put money towards it, you've got to increase that audience reach, and you've got to make sure you have messaging that converts. And that includes testing, making sure you're hitting the right audience, making sure that you're not pushing ads out to 17-year-olds, and then all of a sudden, if you're doing it through Facebook, there's not getting any interaction and Facebook is not happy, so they're not pushing the ad out any longer. That Facebook algorithm is so complex. I don't think anybody really knows the pieces to put it together. It's almost like one of those really good Italian recipes from Rayo's in New York City, right? There's probably 10 different ingredients and only 2 people know 5 of them each, right? That's almost like the Facebook algorithm. Um, there's no real rhyme or reason, and it changes like every 2 to 3 weeks. In honestly, there's so many changes being made to it. So if you're not hitting the right audience, you're immediately going to screw up the rest of it, and that's going to be a challenge. So I would definitely say either get some training on that or figure out what things you need to do to make it happen. So on to number 7. referrals. And we've already sort of talked about this, so we won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but is your referral plan converting? Um, human nature is that people are much rather do business with somebody that they know, right? It happens to me all the time in my life. I'm putting a new deck on my backyard. I literally made the decision based off a referral, viewing his website, and looking at reviews. So I called him up. He came out. Boom. I had that done. But it initially started with a referral. So people are going to want to do business with somebody who's done business with another company other than a total stranger. So what does that mean for your business? Referred customers are really 3 times more likely to sign up than non-referred customers. That may be a little bit different in the roofing industry because there's a lot of other complexities behind it, but I can tell you that even if it's 2 times more or 1.5 times more, it's definitely more than non-referred customers. You have an easier close, you have a faster close, they could be a more predictable stream. So if you're not maximizing that web of referrals, you've got to figure out how to get a referral plan in place right away. So definitely be thinking about that. Mistake number 8, you're not prioritizing reviews. So again, we sort of touched on this back and we've talked about it with the bird eye process, but 4 out of 5 people are going to read reviews before making a purchase decision. So, the one big thing about construction industry, roofing industry, is the inherent sort of mistrust from potential customers. And it's really true for, it could be true for plumbers, electricians. I see it all the time. I'm on Nextdoor. I'm on our Facebook group for my neighborhood, and I can't tell you the number of times a post starts out, I don't want to get ripped off, comma, does anybody know an electrician that will not take my money? I don't want to get ripped off, does anybody know a plumber? Same thing for roofing. It's unfortunate, but we see the headlines, we see the news articles, we see the BBB. I mean, BBB routinely puts out stuff about door knocking and all kinds of stuff. So they're warning the customers. So you're fighting this uphill battle. And if you're not doing all these other things, that uphill battle becomes just almost impossible to sort of climb that hill. So ignoring the online reviews are going to cost you. Studies show that one bad review can deter 30 potential customers, if not more. And I would say if you're not looking at your Google reviews, if you're not looking at all the online reviews that you potentially could look at, and again, going back to the responding to those, even the positive ones, you're missing out on the potential there. So I would say it's super important to be engaged with the review process and be a part of it. Don't ignore it. All right, number 9, we're almost at number 10. You are not social. Can't tell you the number of times I talk to any client, doesn't need to be roofers, but somebody that says, I just don't want to mess with it, Bill. I don't
Yeah.
care about it. It's not something that interests me. And luckily, it interests enough people to keep me in business. But I would say, looking at data, 3 out of 4 internet adults in the US use social media for at least 1.7 hours a day. That's probably equivalent to television. I don't know. But it's a long time. And I would say, even if you're watching television, if a commercial comes up, you're popping on Facebook, you're looking at, Instagram, I don't know, TikTok's new now. I started looking at some TikToks just to see if it'll integrate with roofing. So there's all kinds of different stuff, right? So, honestly, if I had a dollar for every time a business said, I don't like social media, I'd have my own stimulus package at this point. It's crazy, right? The truth is you really can't ignore it, and if you are, you're missing out on this big opportunity, this major opportunity. And I've been saying it for a long time, right? The first picture of me is at the Best of Success, and I think even 4 or 5 years ago I was on stage at the Best of Success in front of 500 roofers talking about being on Facebook, running ads, not really messing around with Twitter all that much, but making sure that you've got your digital dialed in. And I will tell you that there are some companies that really took that to heart and are doing a great, great job. And I would encourage that for everybody. Be an expert. And if you can't be an expert, find an expert. It's, a good majority of these sites, all of these social sites, are where all the reviews are, where the recommendations are, where individuals are tagging companies. So, I had a great experience with Bill's Roofing tagged in a post on their personal page that gets shared with a group. The more trust, the more awareness will also lead to more leads. I tag a good friend of mine in all kinds of posts all the time for air conditioning because he runs an air conditioning company, and I'm always tagging him. I can guarantee you he's got customers from me just tagging him on posts. I can guarantee it. And the cost, right? So let's look at the cost. To reach 1,000 people on digital, and I would say this is an average, right? This data is probably from Facebook, is $2 to $14. And I always go back to my Hail Watch days when I'm talking to somebody about that, because the big question is, right, how much does it cost to use No Time for Social? It costs X amount for us to manage. Well, how much do I need to run ads? And I said, well, I don't know if I can answer that question yet because I don't know your audience. If you're trying to reach 100,000 homeowners, and this goes back to my Hail Watch days, what would it cost you to send a postcard to 100,000 homeowners? And the numbers vary, right? But let's say it's as low as 25 cents, right? You're still talking about $25,000 to hit 100,000 homeowners. If you can reach 1,000 homeowners for $2 to $14, that $25,000 is going to go a lot further than that one postcard. That, by the way, you probably forgot to put an individual tracking phone number on, so you're not really sure where the leads are coming from anyway. So the cost is super, super inexpensive. It's getting more expensive, but it also allows you to change the way that you're targeting customers, right? So, and what I mean by that is you can set an audience up of 100,000 people and run an ad for 3 days and then turn it off. There's no way you're stopping that postcard when it goes out. And there's no way that you can change it midway. You can do that with social. You can do that with digital. Turning things on and off is super, super easy to do. The process of turning them on and off, the process of getting the ads built and all of that is sometimes difficult. But the dislike for social media marketing is really a fear, right? It's a fear of not knowing what to do, not knowing how to track it, not knowing what to look for. So getting somebody on your side that's going to sort of help you out is super important. So I would say, if you're not social, there's got to be a way for you to figure out how to get your company social and how to turn it into that I don't want to call it a lead generation machine, but if you do all the things we've talked about, those leads will start to come in and you will start to build your business. And going into the number 10, which is, if you are social, not testing the messages, right? And I initially started out by saying, I've talked to roofers before that say I spent $1,000 on a Facebook boost, and the message was terrible. The wording was bad. The marketing message isn't your company tagline. It's not your mission statement. It's not your vision. It's clearly defining what you do and how you solve those problems in one sentence or less. So when we talk about the message, we have to be super dialed in with your elevator pitch, your problem solving, right? We talked about that. What problem are you solving? And then that customer says to themselves after seeing that marketing message, I need this service, or I'm going to read this blog post, or I'm going to go down the road of learning more about this company. If you're not testing the messages, if you're not changing up what people see on the homepage or using, there's heat mapping software. I think I can't remember the name of it, but there's different software to see where people are going and how much they scroll on your page when they hit it. You're missing out on what that perception is from potential customers and what you really need to overcome the competition. So if you take everything that we talked about today, right, and you sort of roll that up into these testing of these marketing messages, you're going to be a lot more successful. Without this messaging, right? Without dialing in specifically on these messaging changes or these messaging updates, you're not going to be able to convert the right customer. You can't maximize these existing channels and efforts, and you can't optimize or improve the acquisition costs. And it goes back to the data. So if you're doing all of these things and you're tracking the messages, you're tracking the spend, you're tracking the customer acquisition cost, if you're doing all of that, you're going to be successful. If you're not pushing out a winning message, you're going to be essentially perpetually stuck in spending money on the wrong channels, reaching the wrong type of customers, one that's not in the position to make a buying decision at this point. All of this is going to decrease your effectiveness. So that's the top 10 marketing mistakes that in 2020 we've identified that businesses are making right now or not necessarily focusing on, that's going to help their marketing message improve. The next thing I want to talk to you about is that document that I mentioned, that PDF. So if you need help with your message, if you're looking for sort of maybe a more in-depth version of what we've talked about today, text better marketing, and I will note that your autocorrect may put a space in between better and marketing, so it needs to be one word. Take that space out, don't let it autocorrect. So
Yes.
text better marketing to 31996. And we're going to get you the guide. We're going to provide some examples. It's really made for business owners, and you know, if you go through that guide, you'll be able to do
And
at least.
we'll also make the CTA available for you all as a part of the message that we send out with
Oh,
the
great.
our survey. So we can you can
Perfect.
definitely
Survey.
no, we'll pull this
I
through.
love it.
And I really appreciate
Sure.
this because this content is things that we need to be thinking about, right? How do
Yeah.
we it's always good to know how to better what you're doing, and
Yeah.
these 10 steps get us there, right? To do these
Yeah.
things consistently. And
Agreed.
just remember, Bill's there as a amazing, tremendous resource that I would highly recommend you all jump into and
Yeah.
leverage.
Thank you.
So
Let's take a quick look at some results. So we've got just two examples here of us running some Facebook ads, right? Our customer acquisition cost dropped from 250 bucks average to $25.17 per Facebook lead. And then one about Oklahoma City, where our customer acquisition cost dropped from 400 on average to 45.79 on Facebook. Now these are long-term sustainable campaigns. So this is not these clients have been with us for several years, and we've continued to improve and build upon their marketing over time. You can see the amount spent on one is a lot higher than the other, but we're constantly looking at audience messaging, all of these things that we've talked about. And when you implement all these things, the right results can come in. We've changed the message. We've done everything that we've talked about in the top 10, we've done for these two clients, and it's worked. So again, there's the Better Marketing 31996, and we'll move into some Q&A. My contact information is there. That's my cell phone number. Several of you may already have it. Any other questions, Tiara? Thank you so much. You can reach me at Bill at No Time for Social. Anything else we want to cover today?
we don't have any questions in the queue, but guys, if you
Okay.
we'll save a few more minutes just in case you all have anything. I know Bill, thank you again for putting this content together for our listening audience. I think it's so important to make
Yeah,
sure that, we know what we don't know and we know what we need to know, right? So,
yes.
so make sure that we follow up. And a couple of questions that came in. How do I reopen the window that's posted? Yep. So for those of you who are looking for the text code,
Oh,
better marketing
there
to
we go.
31996. So text better marketing, one word, to 31996, and we'll include it also in the follow-up email that we send out tomorrow to all of our attendees for today. So Bill, thank you so much for this, and
Yes.
to our Asphalt Life community, thanks for listening, and we will see you guys next month. Until then, keep living, roofing, and playing together. Bye.
Sounds great. Thanks, Sierra. Bye bye.